Welcome to the We Thrive 2025 Summit. We are welcoming to the stage none other than Cara Smithwick. Right?
Eight.
Hold on. Let me read this bio because it's pretty important to know where people came from so you know where they are and where they're going. Cara is a multi-passionate creator dedicated to empowering individuals through resilience, self-care, and meaningful action. Blending her passions for creativity, social justice, and personal growth, she creates tools like the Resilience and Resistance Workbook to help others navigate life's challenges with strength and purpose. When she's not crafting transformative resources, you'll find her exploring new ideas, making connections, and inspiring others to embrace their fullest potential. Let us waste no time in welcoming this brilliant creator to the stage. Cara.
Thank you for those kind words. Hey, y'all, I'm glad you're here for this session. It's called Rise Up, Strength for the Journey, Purpose for the Fight. We will explore together how resilience and resistance help us rise up stronger and more focused. Like Shannon said, my name is Cara and I live in Western North Carolina. I moved here in June, and then we've had, a couple little things go on so far in the Western North Carolina. After Helene hit, I wanted to do some giving back. And I don't pick up trees and I don't craft buildings. And so I started looking at things that I can control. And so I started working on a book to support others who were healing or who needed support during this time, because that's what I had to give. Because I also had to do a pivot with my business, that work kind of stalled for a little while. But then after the recent election and the results came out, people started calling me and they were sobbing. They were unable to move, just immobile. And so again, I looked back to this that I started after the hurricane and realized people still needed to take care of themselves, and they needed to make progress towards a goal, make progress towards something, so that they had a sense of control again, so that the hopelessness and the despair could be remediated is not the word, but reduced. So what I've created are the Resilience and Resistance collection, because those are the two things that I believe go together. And really, Janita's going to probably know a lot of this, because a lot of this comes from the work that I did with her over a few years. And really, she was really great on helping me get my freedom equation set, and bust out of the 9 to 5. And so I am a lifelong educator. I have tried not to be an educator since I was 15 years old. I have resisted that, but darn it, if that is not who I am. And so, what my natural progression is, I learn things and then I tell people about them. And so that's also building community and sharing resources are my jam. And so the natural progression was take this work that I did and share it with others. So workshops. So this is going to be like a workshop, a blend of self-discovery, practical tools, and just enough inspiration to keep you going. So we'll dive in and get ready to rise together. Today we're going to cover resilience and resistance. We'll create a definition and talk about how they're like peanut butter and jelly, better together. Lots of other analogies, but that's probably appropriate for this. Then we'll also dig into some strategies you can use to tackle challenges and stand up for what matters. And then we'll wrap it up with a commitment to action. I know you already gave Janita 3 action tips, but we're going to have another one, because why have a workshop if you don't have a little personal growth thrown in there? All right, I am going to do some crowdsourcing of information from you guys today. So I want, when I ask you questions, I want you to type them in the chat. And Tech support Abigail is compiling all the answers, and I will compile them and send them out to you. If you sign up with like subscribe to my newsletter, or I don't have newsletters yet, just sign up to my email at the end, and I also have a resource to send to you. But I also send you a compilation. So I'll have some ideas, but you guys will also have ideas, and then you'll get a bunch of ideas. So, what does rise up mean to you when you hear that phrase? Maybe it's overcoming obstacles or stepping into your power, but tell me what you think about when you hear rise up. You also can unmute and talk if that's more comfortable. Well, these are good. Making a stand, speaking up to influencers, tell them what's on your mind and what needs to be done. Melanie says, rise up makes me think of Jesus telling the lame man to get up and walk. There's a good place to go and get off the ground. And Shannon says, moving from the ground to standing. And that's a great analogy, like literally and figuratively. Just you are on the ground. You're hopeless and in despair, and you got to get up and stand to get going. And to get up, you're going to need resilience and to work on that. Anybody else? All right, so resilience is about finding your footing when the world feels shaky, like being in a big tree with deep roots in a storm. I know a little bit about storms. Um, and resistance is a bold choice to stand up, speak out, or push back against anything that doesn't align with your values. When the two of those go together, that's when um, when those two go together, your resilience keeps you steady so you can resist, and your resistance gives you resilience, a reason to grow. So you really need each other, both of them, to be effective. And here are some of the ideas for resilience. Um, and it's a muscle. I can tell you, I didn't have a whole lot 5 years ago, and now I have a whole lot more. Um, one of the best things I learned from Janita is standing in the dirt, like going outside and getting grounded and just standing in the dirt. And that sounds crazy, but it's so good. And that's one of the many grounding techniques. You've got box breathing. We're going to do another breathing technique on the next slide, but there are many ways to ground you and help you stay present when all the stress creeps in. Many of the speakers today have mentioned journaling. That is a huge way to create a safe space for your emotions, untangle messy thoughts, kind of like giving your brain a spa day. I try to start every morning with a journal entry. Um, some are more fancier than others, and I can tell when I haven't started the day with journaling. The day just goes awry, and I'm like, what did I not do? Your morning routine. Um, and then also setting small goals. They're like breadcrumbs to get you to big wins. If the big goal is too scary, do a small one. Like you can do 10 small goals to get to where you are instead of having that one giant leap to get to your goal. So what else works for you guys? Again, we'll put them in the chat and I'll send them out to everyone. How do you stay resilient? Mm. These are good. Reaching out to friends with similar values, having a good therapist. I answered my own question. I'm not sure that's allowed, but that's what I did. Podcast, faith, realizing this is just a moment. Oh yes, Alyssa, dance parties for big emotions. That's awesome. Um, I love those. In the workbook that I created, there's just pages and pages of other tips for resilience. And I find that when I get stressed, it's hard for me to think of one sometimes. And so because I have a lot, I can grab onto one. I can't pull up a menu and go, I need to do this one right now. But one will come to me and I'll um that will help me out. Susan says volunteering at the zoo helps because I could be totally miserable and then go for my volunteer shelf shift and feel everything is good, or at least I know I'm helping. Absolutely. I'm reading a book, Worthy, right now, and she talks about contribution being one of the four pillars that you need to create that perfectly fulfilled life. And so volunteering and giving back and contributing to something is important. And it's also part of resistance. So, you know, going to the zoo, I also think, and volunteering is also a form of resistance because you're not sitting at home, you're not moping, you're not wondering what's going to happen next, but you're going out and taking care of yourself and taking care of other people. All right, so we're going to practice one of my favorite grounding techniques. You don't have to get off mute, but this is an easy one to do. And I have this as a screenshot. I probably have saved it a couple times as, you know, like screen from Instagram, but it's 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So it's 5 things you see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, and 1 thing you taste. So I'm going to do it really slowly and let you guys walk through that activity around where you are. All right, so first we're going to take a deep breath in and out and look around at 5 things that you can see. You can point to them, you can name them. All right, now let's do 4 things that you can touch. Okay, and 3 things that you hear. Might be more difficult. 2 things that you can smell. Not as easy. Maybe an unpleasant smell. Exactly. The sweat from today. Um, and 1 thing you taste. Cheating. You do like to smell yourself. Well, I mean, you should. Because if yourself kind of funks you out, then that's not good. All right, so you can do this anytime you need to anchor yourself, even when your to-do list is going nuts and you're just starting to feel those first signs of stress. Do something to get you out of that. You just have to break the cycle, create the pause, and figure out what your next choice is from what Janita was saying earlier. And actually, that was my meditation this morning, was on pause. Not shocked, but taking a pause. And so one of these activities um, is super helpful. Anybody want to share anything about that other than you like yourself, like your smell? I mean, I do too. I mean, I do too, most of the time. There are times when, yeah, never mind. Um, All right. So now what does resistance look like? It doesn't have to be a protest. It doesn't have to be forming an online group that rages against the machine. It can be small, medium, and large. And the freebie I want to send you at the end is an idea bank for resistance. And so it's going to give you lots of ideas because we think resist, and resist to me sounds like protest. It sounds like make a stand, leave your house, make some posters, go to the state house. What else can I do? So some of those things are resistance, but they're small, and not all of us are ready to do all the forms of resistance. Not everybody could organize an event or wants to. Um, some of them are small actions like sharing resources. Um, other ones are creative. Yeah. Others are creative expressions. There is so much art, and Shannon will understands the creative expression and is focusing on that as part of her dissertation because writing art very much resistance, very much also resilience. All right, what are some other creativity and hope are cousins? I love that. I saw that earlier. And Melanie, yeah, you don't have to go to the protest. You can do a lot of other things. Your book club is resistance. Taylor's Liberation Fund is resistance. Um, Dr. Oh, she spoke this morning about pregnancy
Dr.
while you're black.
Alicia Harris.
Yes, Alicia Harris. Her work is resistance. All of these, the freedom equation that Janita has, everything that we have talked about today is resistance. So what are some other things? I just answered my own question again. What are some other things that you can think of that are resistance? Yes. And Susan, even some of the things, oh, absolutely. Susan, some of the things that you mentioned in one of the other presentations about the things that you're doing, like the 30 by 30 house where I don't remember details very well. But you mentioned some of the things you're doing to make the climate better is resistance. Micro school, Janita's micro school is resistance. Rest is definitely resistance. And I think that's even the name of a book that I wrote down during Taylor or during your workshop. Joy is resistance. Yes, hope is resistance. So anything you can do to create any of that. Being who you are is a resistance. Oh my God. We can just stop right now with that one. Being who you are is a resistance. Absolutely. And being your true, authentic, vulnerable self is resistance. I think, ooh, I just got the feels. Thanks, Shannon. Taking care of yourself is resistance. Absolutely. 30 by 30 is protecting 30% of our planet, water, and land by 2030. Very nice. Every single bit of that is resistance. And so that leads into what strengths do you have that you rely on when you need to rise up or push back? Um, which which of these strengths, or which one is the main one? So if I can make it a little bit bigger. I know flexible's on there twice. I think that's to make someone feel flexible to see that word twice. Well, it's a test. What strength do you use when you need to rise up or push back? Communicate. Resourceful and a bit sneaky. creative. This is a great list that I got from highfivetest.com. It's kind of a sell for their product, which is what businesses do. Um, but this place also mentioned the VIA character assessment. I don't know if you've ever done that one. That might be a fantastic one. And it really talks about your 5 strengths based on your character, not a personality trait, not it's like what's innate in yours. And my number one skill, I took this when I was leading a nonprofit, was humor. And I was like, super, that great. The leader of it works out fine, but still I have to be self-deprecating for a minute. Because that humor is my favorite, and I'm leading a nonprofit. Um, anyway, um, so also mature, I see that, Melanie. These are also things to know when you're going to get yourself into resistance work. Because if you are mature, you don't want to go run. If you're feeling mature, you don't want to run around 2-year-olds at the park doing something. Or if you're communicative, then you want to work being able to explain things to other people and share resources. And then there are things that you don't want to do based on your strengths as well. Yeah. All right. So, what is one small act of resistance that you will do this week? No pressure. It could be writing a letter, creating a piece of art. Shannon, it better be rest tomorrow. um, emailing the school board. Shannon would like to have led a dance party to stop hateful words being screamed at the advocates.
That's actually really, you'd be surprised how an old lady shaking her tuchus, dancing wildly, stops the screamers from saying hateful things to the young advocates. And that's just the fact that I'm willing to do that. But also, there's something about me shaking my butt that stops people from saying hateful things. So I guess I need to keep
I, I I don't know if that's positive or negative, but it did have a
it
positive
works.
impact on the protesters, um and that is a great way of reframing how you react to something. My inclination would be getting mad and blah, 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 but getting up there, it's just creating that pause to let folks think. I think it's so important that we pause and we're intentional about what we're doing, um, especially in these days that started this morning at 9 or whatever. It's very important for us to take care of ourselves, because you cannot have a barrage of negative news and negative happenings without taking care of yourself, or you'll burn out, which is a very true possibility, and one that I have experienced myself. And so resistance gives me a reason to keep going and gives me things to do and ways to make small ripples of change. And resilience is what I have to do to keep myself powered up so that I can do the resistance. So Melanie's going to email the school board and the mayor. That's what it sounded like from your presentation. Speaking today was an act of resistance for you. You want to talk more about that? Yeah.
Yeah, I initially I didn't want to be in the country in the US when the inauguration happened. So I had a trip to Cartagena planned. And when I was invited to do this, I was like, that's more useful. Like that is actually And again, like, how can I help people get through this? Because I know we're disappointed. I know we're wanting to escape, right? So for me, speaking today was an act of resistance to what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And the reason for Shannon's very thoughtfully planned and predicted summit um, has been huge. I've seen one picture on social media, and I turned it off and turned my phone over because today is all about happy, well, being built up and building things. Um, Susan read Total Garbage, contact company about their non-recyclable containers. Oh my goodness. So true. Intentionality. That's my word. Right. I am early, so you'll get an extended bathroom break, or maybe we should have our dance party, Shannon. Since we didn't get our dance party this morning.
I know. The thing is, somebody else is going to have to figure it out because I tried to run the sound and it liked Angela, but it did not like me. So, I mean, I can try to do it, but I really think
I have a little bit more.
I know
Wait,
you do, and I feel like people might want to chat with you a little bit.
so what's one insight that you're taking away from today?
I'm present with how much joy and brilliance. I mean, I knew it. I knew what it would feel like, but I'm also just like marinating in all of these brilliant, all the ways people are resisting, and all of the ways, all of the variations that people are using to live out beautiful lives. It's so good. It's so good. I'm just grateful.
Melanie says that she's not alone. There are lots of us. Janita gets to decide how she will rise up and show up. Abigail says that she forgets resistance can be small, that some action is better than no action. Absolutely. It doesn't have to be a protest, which again, resistance, that's what used to translate in my head is I would think resistance, protest, resistance, sending thousands of letters, but like that's it. But we've talked about a lot of things today that are resistance. And again, I'll send you a couple of things. And we can work from our circles of influence, not big corporations, because capitalism, they are not on our side. Um, so absolutely. I am a little bit early, so I'm going to have questions, but this is the ways to get in touch with me. And that's my link tree. So if you want to pull up your phone and scan it, Abigail probably can do it in 7 seconds and put it right there because she already has. And the the first um the first link on the link tree is to subscribe to my Smithwick Communications, which is my main business. And I will send you a roundup of what we've talked about today, and also a idea bank for acts of resistance. So you can look like education. Let's start with small pieces of resistance. And also right under there is a link for my Etsy shop. And in my Etsy shop, I'm giving everybody 48 hours to get 50% off of all the things in my digital store, including the workbook that led this. And then also I have 100 affirmations for the next 100 days. And they come in a variety of forms. You can get them just as a PDF. You can get them as like phone wallpapers or digital desk wallpapers. So check those out, because the first 100 days are gonna stink, man. We're used to, like, we know it's gonna be bad, but we don't know how bad it's gonna be. And so All right.
Wait, don't go anywhere. We have
I'm not going anywhere.
questions. Oh my gosh. Can you uh so not only is your work impactful, it's also beautiful, beautiful, and highly researched. Can you tell me, and I'm asking a leading question.
Yes, I appreciate that.
Tell me more about how you're bringing this workbook, and I know that there are workshops out into the world. If folks wanted to engage with you again, or maybe bring you to their group or organization, can you say more about that?
Yeah. So I've got a power pause coming up starting in a month. It's going to be every Tuesday. And the first session is super cheap. It's going to be 10 weeks, and I'm going to give one tip for resilience or resistance a week. So you could be working, have a little inspiration at 10 o'clock in the morning. We'll do our 20 minutes, and then you are able to work on that during the week. And the next week, we'll have another little pick me up. And so that's a 10-week series. I also have several workshops. I hope to collaborate with wellness groups or yoga studios or um, other folks who offer workshops to the country, to places. I'm going to hit some senior citizen centers around here because everybody's needs resilience. Everybody needs to figure out how to take care of themselves. One podcast I listened to um, refers to them as like self-soothing techniques because we as Americans don't know how to self-soothe. And resilience techniques help you self-soothe. When you're doing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 activity, you're soothing yourself instead of getting angry, instead of having road rage or yelling at your kid or whatever, or stewing and getting mad at yourself for doing something stupid. Have a pause, be intentional, and keep going. And so it's, as I said before, I am a teacher, I am an educator, and it's my duty, I guess, my calling to give back information to people. And so
Uh-oh, you cut out a little bit on us, but this gives me a chance to say, as your internet is hey, you're back. Wait,
there we go.
oh wait, before you jump in, you're talking escape is not freedom. That's like the third thing Janita said. So you're saying, especially for folks that either don't want to, or like escaping is not a part of their freedom equation, that they can use, see what I just did there? They can use these tools to manage themselves.
And escape doesn't necessarily mean leave the country, you know?
Right.
Escape could be escaping from the stress, escaping from the demands, and maybe, having the resilience that gives you a little bit of ovaries to make some more resistance, to make life better, to help a neighbor or have a meaningful conversation with somebody, or do something in your community that and that helps everybody. But what they want us to be right now is upset and scared and overwhelmed and react. And so the best thing that we can do is build our resilience up and then start making positive resistance, because that's the only way that we're going to do anything good, when all they want us to do is react. So we have to get proactive. I think Taylor said that earlier. We have to get proactive and not reactive, to what's out there. Janita, were you going to say something? Okay.
Any other, I mean, I could ask you a million questions. Any other questions before Shannon Ivy asks yet another question? Y'all sick of me asking questions yet?
Good facilitator.
I'm just deeply curious, and I like hearing your thoughts. Okay, no one else. I would like to know, I know that burnout, and you called it something else. I don't know. Will you be in conversation with me for a second about how a person can recognize burnout before it's like clinical? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, what are some, these are preventative tools. Are they also like while you're experienced, like, uh-oh, I think I'm all the way burnout? Can you talk a little bit? You don't have to like tell us
In
HIPAA
chapter
protected.
3 of the
Oh,
workbook,
oh,
um,
that's 50% off thing.
it is 50% off, and there is pricing for marginalized folks. So if money is an issue, if you're underemployed, unemployed, marginalized in any way, it's only $13, and then it'll be half off. So burnout for me was um, not being interested in things. I started a nonprofit, and suddenly it was not so great. Like I didn't, the interest was low. Um, Burnout looks like apathy. Burnout looks like tiredness. Um, Burnout looks like um, irritation, um, being defensive, um, not doing as much work in the nonprofit, not doing as much work. Um, Maybe you're tired. Maybe you've got chronic fatigue, irritability. Some people don't sleep. There's so many things. I mean, there's other reasons why people don't sleep. Yes, Shannon, you will rest tomorrow, Shannon. But those are some things you've got to set boundaries. You have to really pause and listen to what your emotions are telling you. Um, I think that was the biggest thing. Is it menopause? Yes. It's menopause and it's burnout. Yes. It could be either one. I think there's so much overlap, and then there's so many changes when you get to menopause that I think also influence all the things. Um, which just makes burnout everything else worse. Uh, for me, burnout included quitting the nonprofit that I co-founded and leaving and selling my house and moving to the mountains. Where I finally was able to like realize and be vulnerable and focus on my emotions and where I was and where I'd been, and just be really honest. Like there were many days that I just got up and thought or journaled or, you know, did something creative because I just needed to get energy back and get my focus back. So there are tips in the workbook that help you recognize it and then help you support others, and a way of talking to other people when you're recognizing others in burnout, because that's also, I didn't realize what it was until I was out of the situation. And so if I'd realized what it was, or if someone else realized what it was, then possibly my story would have had a different ending. But I like the ending, that what's not ending. I like the content, the continuation of where I am. So
Thank you for that. That's really, I think to unshame burnout is to recognize it has roots in capitalism, often misogyny. Do you know, it's like it's
yeah,
really deeply rooted. It's almost like we were
the
raised,
patriarchy and capitalism.
from very tiny, very little people to work until there's nothing left. We're dust.
The
And so
conditioning.
conditioning.
The condition, and you have to recognize the condition and what it is and make those mental choices to break free. Yeah.
So let's say somebody, oh, Janita, thank
My,
you.
I, so one of when Kara's talking about the burnout, and feeling that apathy. That's one of the things that happens with burnout. It can, something that was your gift or was your like your thing, you get burnt out and you can then start thinking that that wasn't my thing. Once you can get from under it, from out of that burnout, then you get back to, okay, this is the thing that started all that. Where do I need to put some boundaries? Where do I need to set some limits, right? So that I don't move into that again. But that burnout can have us thinking that we were on a wrong path or we did something wrong. No, no, just got a little out of whack. But that gift is probably still your gift. It's probably still your thing. We just have to tweak it a little bit. Yeah. Just wanted to share that.
Oh, I love
Absolutely.
that pro tip. Because how sad when you know what your gift is and all of a sudden you hate it.
Yeah.
And you're like, my gift is haranguing me. My gift is making me want to run into traffic.
Right.
Oh, look what Abigail did for you.
Thanks,
I,
Abigail.
I think I need to take Abigail on the road. Abigail is keeping
Yes.
me from burnout today. Thank you,
You're finished.
Abigail.
We'll connect with her too because she's awesome.
Amazing. So this is your work. Can I ask you a personal question? You can say, I'm not telling you.
Oh,
What did
we
you
have
bring
that
back?
filter anymore.
What did you bring back into your life after burnout that you did were like meh about it? And now in this life, what have you
Education.
been say again?
Education. Presenting. I haven't presented in a year. Now it's been twice in a week. Like I was presenting a lot and doing and teaching workshops and teaching classes and educating and being resourceful and now coming back.
Kind
And
of
it
got
feels good. It feels like I think I told Shannon after I presented, it felt like getting back on the bike.
yep.
It was nice. It feels like coming home.
Welcome home.
Thank you.
Mm, I'm just sitting with that so
I'm
good.
out. High five.
High five.
Awesome.
Isn't that cool how you just did that for yourself? Well, look what you did for yourself. I dig it. And look what joy it's going to bring into the world. This thing, this resilience and resistance workbook, what's your wildest dream for this work? Do you have a wild dream for where this work, this workbook, this body of work could take you?
On the road. And
Oh,
would do anything to travel.
you want to go to Mexico?
I did. That was my original dream. I don't think it's right now.
But you could tour. Mm,
I could tour all over the place.
yep.
I could lead
That's,
retreats.
yep.
I want to sing Kumbaya with everybody. I mean, it really, really, that's
You
where I
want
am.
to sing.
I don't really want to sing, and you don't want me to sing, but
I already sang to Janita. Oh my goodness. Here comes Alyssa in the chat. Alyssa, thank you for being
oh,
with us. And we
thanks,
we,
Lisa.
we agree, Kara, this is important. Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Any other questions or conversations you want to have with Kara? She's so generous with her resources and her knowledge. Abigail. Hi. Hi,
Your tech
Abigail.
person has a face. Hello. I'm looking at your workbook on my other screen here, and I'm so excited to dive deeper into it. Do you touch on how to learn how to live without burnout when finances are a difficulty, when they're a
I
very practical limitation?
I don't, but let me look for a resource.
Okay, thanks.
So make sure I have your email well, you're going to send
Yes.
me stuff, so I'll have
Yes.
it. But because being vulnerable, truth be told, that's where I am right now. And so limitations. It's real, and coming up with other ideas. I don't know who's left. I'm just blathering at this point. But one of the things that when Janina was my life coach for a few years, and one of the things I remember, you mentioned opening a can, and that being like the reveal moment. She asked me how I wanted to work, and I couldn't even tell her. I don't even know if you remember that, but like I don't know how to not work 9 to 5. And so like some of the resilience for me was looking at stepping out of that box and getting out of that um college, job, married, kids progression, and realizing I didn't have to go to an office 9 to 5. I didn't have to play the nonprofit corporate world. I didn't have to do these things. And in fact, there are many ideas and many side hustles and many full-time hustles. And, there's so many other ways to supplement income, um, build things. I think it's one of them would be small steps, small goals. And what Janita said, like things that you desire, what is the one next thing that you can do closer to what you desire? So if you desire to have more money, what can you do? Is there one more? Can you DoorDash? I mean, I DoorDashed for a while when I lived in Maggie Valley, because I I actually loved it, because I drove all over the city and found out all kinds of roads and things and learned the city. And so it was great. But looking at different things to do. But yeah, I'll look some more, and we'll have a communication that way. That's a good idea. And of course, maybe another workshop. But it really is, it's harder when your finances are so restricted. Um,
Hard to dream.
it's hard to dream, but one of the things is um, believing, is deciding what you want and believing in it. And that's one of the things that still gets me a little bit. There's still something around finances for me that's still holding me back, where I don't believe 100%. And so, but I think having that, knowing what you want and being able to visualize that, having a vision board. I mean, it sounds silly and woo woo, but like focusing on something and going for it, dreaming about it and feeling the emotions every single day is something that I have done and I'm still doing.
I'm
But
reminded. Oh, there you are.
I also want to add, I love this care.
Yep.
And great, and I love what you said. And what I will add to that is, if you see it, it can be.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to see something and then doubt it, like if you can see it, it can be. And that right there, and it's hard to feel that and believe that when you got to feed your kids, right? And I remember when my babies were babies, there's a program called WIC. I think it's Women, Infant, Children, or something like that. And I was getting WIC. I was working as a receptionist at the time, and I remember they wanted me to come in at like 9 o'clock for some class you had to do in order to get your WIC. And I was like, I have to go to work. And they're like, well, if you don't come, you don't keep your WIC. And I remember I was like, okay, I'm not going. I said, well, I need to make more money. I didn't know how, didn't know what, but I was like, I need to make more money. So I'm not doing this. I'm not going here where you say go. I will make more money. And I ended up getting a promotion at my job. So when you can see the thing and you're clear and you make that decision, things change, life meets you. But if you can see it, just know that it can be. It can be hard to believe that when the pennies aren't pinching, you know what I mean? But just trust that if you can see it, it can be.
One more auntie rolling in. I find like doing research about like how there's this thing about, I went to a women's college and I remember reading about how like people need to see other people, especially women, people with marginalized identities need to see other people doing it, which is why I put these things together. Because I'm like, there are people who have figured it out. I am not dumb. You're not dumb. You can figure this out. So I like try to get some information and talk to people who have done what I want to do or something near it. And then I like crowdsource, like Cara was talking, all of the knowledge. And then I like, because I'm creative, I'm like, and this is how I'll do it. Like I like this about this and this about this. And then whoosh, and all of a sudden I've got something unique, but supported with evidence that it's doable. And that gives me and has for years given me so much confidence. I'm like, I know it can be done. I watched you do it. I know it can be done. I watched you do it. So, like, getting closer to people who figured these things out, this is really just like a long winded way of saying, you're not alone. You're not alone. And we are not taught at conditioning. We're not taught everything we needed to know to do the things like money and business. And, we could go on and talk about what we're not taught. But yes, Cara, this is your time.
No. Abigail, two things that just came to mind. There's the Broke Black Girl is on Instagram and she's fantastic. And so I just take her feeds and I have so many screenshots on my phone from little tips. And it's something like maybe save $1 a week. You have to start somewhere and you have to go. And then also, The Financial Feminist is a book that I've been listening to her, and I've purchased the book. Of course, I haven't read it because I just buy books and then I'm supposed to learn them by osmosis. So, but finding some of those on tiny, tiny little wins. Awesome.
Thank you for that question. There's just so much wisdom in the world, You can about the thing called negativity bias? Negativity bias is like, I don't know, it's like a self-protective thing that humans do. And they're like, the minute like your brain is like, well, I call it my Eeyore voice in my head. Well, I guess this is not going to work. And really, what's happening in my brain is that I have a thought or I'm worried it won't work because I want it to work, whatever the thing is. And then my brain says, not going to work. And then all of a sudden, like lint, it all goes, all the reasons why it won't work. And so it is like the mindfulness practices we've been talking about today. You literally have to be like, nope, nope, nope. I think, who was it? Janita, who talked about curating who supports you? Because if I go to the scaredy cat person in my family, they're like, I don't think you should do it.
Mm-hmm.
Or I can go to the badass brave one and I can be like, okay, you want to come on my team? Look at this, getting out of debt.
Ooh, that's nice, Lolita.
Oh.
Yeah, well, and the comedian Andrea said, "Stop awfulizing." I feel like I need to write that everywhere and tattoo it on my son. Stop awfulizing.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
Well, we have had such a wonderful time, both with you, Cara. Thank you so much. And also with you, Abigail. Thank you for your support. And Janita, also you. We have one more person. So let's take about 5 minutes to like reconfigure. I know because you just got in. Thank you, Janita, for helping with that. We'll take a 5-minute refresh. We'll say goodbye. Abigail's going to her clock in job. But Abigail, thank you for being a part of this. Cara, y'all go get this workbook. It is, wow, amazing. Oh, wow. You're going to be glad you got it today.
All right.
All right. Or tomorrow.
Thanks, y'all.
Amazing. Cara, thank you so much. Hey, y'all, if you're just joining us,